Welcome to another session of Understanding Human Anatomy. And in this series of videos, I want to discuss the retroperitoneal organs. And this will be a lecture similar to the one I did on the mediastinum. If you viewed those sets of videos, it's the same idea where we'll be sketching structures in as we go. And we'll start, as I started that one, by drawing in vertebra, give us some bony landmarks. We'll make this one T12, and L1, L2, L3, L4, and L5. And forgive the little bit of scoliosis I've drawn in here. We'll sketch in the intervertebral discs. And we'll put in some labels. So this is T12. L1. L2. L3. L4. And L5. And I want to put in a reference plane, and the reference plane will be passing through L1. And this plane is the transpyloric plane. The transpyloric plane. And it is named transpyloric plane because the plane passes through the pylorus of the stomach. It's at the level of L1, and the inferior edge of the ninth costal cartilage will touch this plane, and it is halfway between the sternal notch and the symphysis pubis. So it's about halfway down the trunk, thorax and abdomen together. About halfway from top of the thorax to the top of the pelvic region. I also need to sketch in another bony landmark, and that would be the iliac crest coming from the os cocci, there on one side, and there on the other side. We'll draw in another reference point, and that is the supracrestal plane. And the supracrestal plane passes over the superior edge of the two iliac crests. So we'll put the label in here. And the supracrestal plane passes through the disc between L4 and L5. I'll sketch in one other landmark. I'm going to sketch it in gray so it will kind of disappear as we continue the diagram. The umbilicus. And the umbilicus is right here at L4. The umbilicus and we'll get the label over to the umbilicus. What we need to remember essentially is that the umbilicus is at the level of L4. Now, I'm going to sketch in the 12th rib. And remember, this is one that does not articulate with the sternum. And it's also a relatively short rib. And then we need to look at some muscles. And I'm going to sketch in a muscle, and the muscle takes origin from all the lumbar vertebrae. And I'm going to cut it off here just because we're out of room. This muscle is the psoas major. And it's a muscle with fibers that are long and parallel. And if you cut the muscle in cross section, it will be round. This is the muscle in cattle that makes up the filet mignon steak. And let me color this in. And this is actually a muscle of the lower extremity. It's a potent hip flexor. So it originates on the bodies of the lumbar vertebrae, but it goes down to insert onto the femur and flexes the hip joint. So this is psoas major. And let's draw a label to it. There may be a psoas minor muscle that would be running parallel to it, but its appearance varies from individual to individual. So psoas major. We have another muscle that originates from the iliac crest and this muscle is iliacus. And again, I'm going to cut it off because its insertion is along with psoas major onto the femur. In fact, when you see these two muscles in the cadaver, in the femoral region, they are known as Iliopsoas because the fibers merge together and they have a common insertion. So we got those colored in. And again, this muscle is iliacus, and its fibers merge with psoas major to form Iliopsoas in the femoral region. Another muscle that we're going to find here is Quadratus Lumborum. And Quadratus Lumborum runs from the inferior border of the 12th rib straight down to the iliac crest. And it's a kind of rectangular muscle. I'm going to draw a black border in between it and psoas major so that you can see the difference. And this is a rectangular muscle, as you might guess from the name Quadratus. And it sits in the back helping form part of the body wall. And again, we'll fill this in. So this is Quadratus Lumborum. Touch up the line going to psoas. Now, the last muscle I want to detail is the diaphragm. And the diaphragm takes origin from the bottom, the inferior edge of the rib cage. So I'm going to show that here. And remember, it's a dome-shaped muscle, so its fibers run superiorly and medially to meet at the central tendon of the diaphragm. So we're just drawing a part of it in here, putting some fibers to give you an idea of what it's like. And again, we'll try coloring it. Like so. But in addition to the inferior border of the rib cage, which again represented by the 12th rib here, the diaphragm takes origin from the vertebrae, and specifically the lumbar vertebrae. And I'm going to use a little darker shade of orange to show this origin and then up here and then down on this side. So it overlaps psoas major at its most superior attachment. But these two structures that I've drawn in are the cura, or the legs of the diaphragm. The cura, and then the diaphragm proper would be right here. Now, this space between the two cura, between the left and right cura, gives a small defect in the diaphragm, and it is through this defect or hole that the aorta enters the abdomen. So again, in an earlier video talking about the mediastinum, we said that the aorta enters at T12. Well, the reason it enters at T12 is that's where the gap is between the two cura. It provides a natural point for the aorta to enter. So, those are the muscles on the posterior abdominal wall, and then the diaphragm. That will conclude this video. Thank you for your attention.